teenagers, you know how influential their friends are. For some kids, who they hang out with means everything, but for others, making friends doesn't come so easy. Either way, moms hope their kids get to spend time with the people they love and feel loved by. And my next guest says this is possible for every teen. It just might require some work. Author and speaker Brooke Romney is joining us with ways our teens can find a good group of friends before those summer months hit. It does get a little different, right? The dynamic changes when school ends. I know we're months away, but this idea of finding good friends is this ambiguous hope every mom has.
Yeah, and you know, like you said in the beginning, like for some people it comes so easily, and for others it's just a struggle and continues to be a struggle. And I think COVID kind of like derailed some of those like natural mechanisms for kids to be able to reach out and find friends and keep friends. And so for those parents who are like, my kid's struggling so much, like you're not alone. You're not alone. I hear it a lot. Every time I post something on Instagram about friendships or teenagers and friendships, I'm flooded with hundreds of people who are saying it's not working for their kid.
Well, there's a meaningful weight behind this pursuit as well. It's not just about being popular or running with the cool crowd. It's about that influence, right? It's about having someone by your side during years that can be tumultuous. And you have teenagers. You probably can speak to this even better than I can.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, they think maybe it's like, oh, you know, I want to be in this crowd or that crowd. But really, most kids just want a couple good buddies that can be with them through good and bad times.
Let's talk about where teens can start, how we can encourage our teens to take that first step. You say getting involved is a natural extension toward this.
Yeah, and this is especially important if your kids are going through a friend transition. I think in like junior high, high school, every time something changes, kids have different friends. And I think parents need to be aware, like, it's not that kids are being horrible or, you know, making these horrible choices. It's things are changing and kids change. And sometimes, you know, your values change. Sometimes what you like changes. And so getting involved is a great way to start like making some new friendships.
So in a club, a group.
Yeah, clubs, work, anything like sports, anything like that you can get involved in. Our high schools, especially in Utah, have so many opportunities for kids to get involved. And so if your kid is feeling alone or like some of their friends have kind of taken a detour, getting involved in a club, a group, sports, work, church, anything like that, like go and engage. You can't just go and sit in the shadows. You got to go and engage.
You talk about that friend transition. I like that phrase. That's very gentle and very polite. As a parent, Brooke, when do you think it's appropriate for someone to step in, you know, and say a mom or a dad to step in and suggest it might be time for a friend transition?
That's really hard because the kids are really different. But if you notice that your kid is constantly being left out, if they're constantly finding out that everyone was hanging out without them, if people they are around make them feel worse about themselves instead of better, you can gently suggest like, hey, you know, how do these people make you feel? Like, how come you think they don't want to call you? Are there other people that might be interested in being your friend? Are there people that you haven't reached out to for a while that like you remember having a good time with? Those types of things. Another thing I caution is if your child is going through a friend transition and they are alone a lot, it's important to like gently nudge them to like reach out, because a lot of times kids are just lazy and they don't want to. But also like be really aware that sometimes you're putting extra pressure on them that they don't need at the time.
And they probably already feel.
They already know they're alone.
Yeah, It sometimes only accentuates, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think especially like in those really difficult times, you know, planning something fun as a family on the weekend, making it a no big deal thing, going out to dinner, looking forward to watching a movie or a series together. Those things can help, but also not letting them totally just like check out.
Sink into
and
it.
saying like, oh yeah, my friends aren't, you know, including me. There's a lot of people too. And I always like to tell kids, like, there's a lot of people who are also home alone on the weekends. So look for those that maybe aren't always as easily included and just get together, invite them to do something. You want to go to a movie, like my parents have tickets to this. Would you like to come? Those things are a little easier than, hey, why don't I invite 12 people to come to my house and everybody's going to say no. So
it's hard. It takes courage. I feel like we've sat in this very same space, you and I, and talked about how to make mom friends. I mean, it's hard for every age and every stage, and it takes that bravery. And you touched on that. You can't just, you know, you sign up for a group or you're part of a club or a church activity. You can't just be that person in the corner. So how do we teach or encourage that courage?
You know, I think like some role playing when they're younger is very helpful. So they feel brave enough to do that. It's something that's a part of them. If you haven't been able to do that in the beginning with them, so it's part of who they are, you know, just small things. Like in my book, I talk about introducing yourself, you know, challenging them to do small things. There was a girl that told me that she had had horrible anxiety and she was so shy and all these things. And her parents gave her one challenge a week. And they were small, they were tiny, like look up in the hall, or take your AirPods out, or ask a question in class. And as she was able to do those challenges, her confidence increased. And as she started in 7th grade with no friends, sitting alone. And by 9th grade, she had a group of friends because she was willing to challenge herself. And so helping your kids understand that they can be empowered to change their situation. It's not just who they are. A lot of us who are outgoing now started as feeling very uncomfortable, but it's pushing yourself out of that uncomfortable space because the rewards are great outside of it.
You believe being busy can help with this pursuit to find new friends and seek out new companionship.
Yeah, I mean, just like we said, like being involved and not just sitting home and playing the Xbox or listening to your own music, but finding ways to get involved, whether it's, you know, school, church, even like service. Like if somebody says, hey, I need help. I mean, most kids don't love that. But if you're the kid that's always willing to help, you're going to make those connections.
The invitation can come from you. You can be the one to facilitate. That takes courage too, but what a good fire starter. And then looking for others, like you touched on, you're not the only one home on the weekend. I think that camaraderie or that strength in numbers could help maybe ease the sting of the moment.
Yes, and I think it's really easy, especially for kids who are on social media, to look and see this one crowd that's always doing fun things and they want to be a part of that and they think that everyone's doing that. No, it's just one crowd. There's a million other kids hanging out at home wishing somebody would call them or make a plan or invite them to do something. And so being brave and reaching out and looking for somebody who maybe isn't the person you thought you always wanted to be friends with, but maybe they would turn into a really great friend.
And tone is important. I appreciate you advising parents to strike that balance. Like just ask, like just do what you can. It's casual, it's out there. We're encouraging, we're not pressuring.
Yes, and I think it can be really hard for kids to feel that added pressure when they already feel like they don't have friends or their friends are leaving them out, or especially like the questions like, so what did your friends do tonight? How come they didn't invite you? You know, like that is so difficult, and it's also so natural for a parent to do that because they're just concerned and they want to know. But doing your best to make it something that isn't like this hot button issue, but just like, hey, you know, like, would you like to have so-and-so come with us? Or we've got an extra ticket. Like I bought 7 tickets to the movie instead of 6. Like, is there anyone you want to come? And yeah, you might eat $8, but somebody might come along too.
Yeah,
so
good investment at that point. Brooke, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Some of these topics you will find in Brooke's 52 Modern Manners for Today's Teen book. It's a great resource, again, a casual way to approach some of these necessary and needed character strengths and values in kids today. Where can we get our hands on a copy?
It's on the best still so far at Amazon, which is great. Yeah, down to 25% off. And then it is in Costco's too, which is also a great deal. But if you don't have a Costco membership, then Amazon too.
When you walk into Costco, do you flash your Costco card or do you flash the book? You're like, either way, I'm in the door. That's so cool.
I wish they thought I was that cool.
Thanks so much, Brooke.
Thanks, Brooke.
All right.